We're here because of a little lemon tree named Bendiciones.
Or blessings, for those of you who don't speak Spanish.
Bendiciones is in our neighborhood right now, fighting racism, building community, and making disciples of Jesus Christ. Seems like a lot for a tree.
Today we're going to tell you the story of New City Church in Minneapolis, along with the story of Bendiciones and how we came to learn that the grace of God is here to save the whole earth, not just humans. And if we are to preach the gospel, we have to think about everything from the soil to the sky.
New City is planting churches and planting trees, and we want to inspire you to fight racism, heal the earth, and to create disciples in your own context, even if you're not an expert in church planting.
Like me, or an expert in planting trees.
Like me. Here's the story of our neighborhood. A few decades ago, this area had a lot of poverty and crime and drugs on the streets. And young Latino and Black families got together and said, this is not the kind of neighborhood where we want our kids to grow up. So they band together to occupy once vacant storefronts, plant community gardens, and they even shut down a factory that was giving kids asthma. However, they were so successful in making this neighborhood a vibrant and green place. The cost of living is now going up. And the same families that made this place amazing are getting kicked out and forced to move to other cheaper, toxic neighborhoods.
And the one refrain that we hear again and again from our neighbors is, I guess I'm too poor to live in a safe and green neighborhood.
Now, we know that our faith tells us a very different story. In Revelation 21, we read about a new city, the vision of heaven lowered down to the earth, where all tribes are welcomed in, where there's no more violence, and where the whole earth is renewed. And while the reality of gentrification is scarcity, greed, racism, and the deep fear that we cannot trust each other, the reality of the new city is one of abundance, where we intentionally preserve our differences and where we find the deep love of God that has been part of our world since the first day.
You see, diversity is built into the fabric of how our world works. Now, my side job is working at an organic lawn care company where I do microscope testing for something called compost tea. It's a little different than the tea you drink on your porch. Compost tea is where we take a handful of compost, aerate it in water, and then spray it on plants. The whole point of what we're trying to do is increase the diversity of soil organisms for the plants to be healthy. Think about this. In a single batch of our compost tea, there can be as many as 500,000 different types of beneficial soil organisms, with each one having a special purpose. That's what is needed to create healthy soil and healthy plants. In fact, most of the diseases that we see in nature, like molds or blights or any other issue, almost always stems from the fact that there wasn't enough diversity in the ecosystem. So when we see a fungal disease on a plant, we brew a batch of that same tea with those 500,000 different types of organisms, and the extra species help to restore health to the plant. This is the way of creation. And by the way, the Creator. And so from the soil on up, God made us interdependent on one another. The differences between us are not only a reality that we have to accept, they are integral to our very health and survival.
New City got its start in 2015. Now, we have a rock and worship service and small groups that focus on racial reconciliation, which we'll save for another video. But the apple of New City's eye, pun intended, is our fruit tree program.
The purpose of the program is to show God's abundance through neighbor-to-neighbor planting and sharing. Here's how it works. People in our area apply to become a fruit tree partner.
We prioritize people who are immigrants, people on food stamps, medical assistance, or transitioning out of the criminal justice system.
So we partner with them, meaning we will plant with them a fruit tree using an organic method of planting that makes such healthy soil that the trees will produce up to 20 times more fruit than if we planted the conventional way. Then the partners pay it forward by helping us plant a tree for another partner. This is so they will be able to learn the methods and principles better and will get to connect with another one of their neighbors. Also, partners commit to donating at least 10% of their produce to their neighbors. For the partners who receive trees this year, in a few years, they will literally have more fruit than they know what to do with, which is why we're going to have ongoing skill shares about harvesting and processing. This is our way of saying God is abundant, God's love for you is abundant, And God is making a home for you here that is abundant.
We understand that gentrification and racism are complicated and systemic, and a fruit tree will only go so far if we don't engage zoning, legislation, and all of that. But this planting is the first step. It pulls together a community that plants not only a tree, but a covenant that says we will stay together as a community and we got your back.
Now, for this first year of the program, we have focused mostly on apple trees because that's what was donated to us.
By the way, if you want to donate to this program, visit www.grownewcity.church/fruit. Okay, shameless plug is over.
So we have been planting apple trees. However, one of our neighbors, who we'll call Rosa, applied to the program. She told us that she had been praying to God that she would be able to get a fruit tree because, like so many of our Mexican neighbors, back home in Mexico, she was able to grow fruit trees in her yard. And then this program showed up, a literal answer to her prayers. The only problem was Rosa lived on the upper floor of a duplex with her kids. She didn't own any yard for us to plant in, and we didn't think it would work. But if there's anything we've learned is that you should never doubt the earnest prayers of a mother on a mission. So we expanded our search from apple trees and found a dwarf lemon tree that could grow indoors. All Rosa needed was a sunny window.
So together we potted the tree, and together we learned how to prune the branches, and together we watered the roots in the new soil. Together we held hands around this lemon tree and prayed a blessing. And for the first time, I understood 2 Chronicles 7:14, which says, "If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn away from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land." Our prayers went up, and the healing of the land came down, right in front of us. As a finishing touch, we had a little sign that we stuck in the pot that said, "Bendiciones from New City Church," just so Rosa would know that we would continue to pray for her, and she would always be an important part of our neighborhood and the New City community. And she looked at the sign and said, "Bendiciones, that will be the name of this tree."
And so we're here because of a lemon tree named Bendiciones. Because Bendiciones is not only a symbol of hope for the new city, but a literal blessing that God has planted into our neighborhood, giving us air to breathe as we speak out for justice, food to eat as we build new community, and a covenant to remember that the love of Jesus Christ will always be with us.
And now, it's your turn. We would be thrilled if you would start planting trees in your community, and we have some tips on how to do exactly that. But really, God has already seeded in your community how you can affect social justice and bless the earth. It's only a matter of asking the right question and praying that in our earth, in our water, and in our air, everyone will know the abundance of God. Amen.